So I didn't mention this in the original lecture video, but after I was kind of reviewing the study sheets and reviewing my own lectures, I decided I want to provide you with something a little bit more. Because remember, I crammed a lot of stuff into lecture 14, EHS auditing, visual inspections, job hazard analysis, accident investigation. So I just want to share some of my personal work with you. And a while ago, I had done a consulting job, and this is actually the fourth part of that job. So I will post the report here, and I've tried to redact who they were. Just I didn't ask them for permission, but it is my report. So what I did is I wrote this report, and it's based on different examples online, books I have. So I have an executive summary, the background, kind of laying out what it was done previously, review the safety program and their injury data, and then the audit procedures, the methodology, and then the results of the audit. And so I'm going to quickly go through this, and then I'm going to get to the PowerPoint so you can actually see the pictures. So oh, I'm giving too much information. So this is just, why I'm there, what I'm doing. Um, Again, what I'm just trying to do is I'm trying to develop their safety program for them because they had been cited by OSHA, and that's what generated my initial visit, my initial hiring to do some consulting work. And here I'm giving the background. And interesting enough, OSHA did come back based on after I had done my work and gave them, I wouldn't call them a clean bill of health, but a complimentary letter saying you're doing a good job on your safety program, no citations. So originally I think they paid somewhere in the neighborhood of $7,000 to $8,000, and then they brought me in, and I'm not going to say how much I made, but it was a fraction of that. And then a year or two later, when they came back in, there were no citations. So it was a good investment for the company. Big return on investment. I should have charged more. No. So here's a company overview. I kind of just lay out all the basics, things that we're talking about in this class. And I started out looking at their I think the first year was pure visual, pure mock OSHA, and then I started getting into the data analysis. So as you can see, they're trending downward. Things are going pretty well. This is OSHA log data. We had just talked about that previously. And then I broke it down by cause, but because that's one thing you want to do is you identify the cause. That is a hazard in which there is an exposure, and the cause then results in an injury. Then I also started looking at their workers' compensation data, and we covered that in this module as well. And see, here's the breakdown. This is by a number of cases, and I believe I have one with dollar values. So as you can see, they vary. There is an issue in 2006 that we talked about, but mostly it's fairly low. They probably don't pay a lot for work comp, but that 2006 may actually ding their EMR. Oh, it was going on its own. I apologize for that. I don't know why I did that. So I just want to just quickly show before I go. So I'm down to did I get to the methods? I skipped over the methods. So I've got the audit procedures. So it's important, remember, because with all the things that was covered in the lecture, all the readings and the website and so everything, you do your homework, you prepare. And as you all know, as a compliance officer with OSHA, I'm well versed in preparing for a walk around, and I'm talking about how I'm doing wall to wall, but then as I continue on, I'm doing verification, I'm doing a little bit of exploratory, I'm looking at the behavior of the workers, I'm talking to the workers, I'm talking to the supervisors, I'm taking photos, and then I get into the results. And so I'm verifying that they corrected the items that I had identified in 2006, but there were still a few that were not corrected. That would be either failure to abate or a repeat. And I didn't let them know what the amounts of the citations would be because they were already in agreement that they would they're moving towards, they're building their safety program, I should say. But it takes time, it takes iterations. You kind of have to, the program evolves as the company evolves. And then I've got recommendations. I talk a little about ergonomics. As you see, I had a reference to the OSHA website. Talk a little about safety programs, which is going to be in the next lecture. And then I get into the appendices. What I did is I created a checklist for them. And I went through and verified based on that. And then, it's just kind of showing this is what I saw, this is what they did. And then based on the most recent, I created a checklist that now they can go through and start correcting the things. And this is really it's got all the elements of what you want in a safety program condensed down into a nice little report. I'll post that. I'll post that so you can kind of look through it a little bit more. But post this. So this is what I presented to management after I got done. Here's the layout. So I want to talk about the good things they had done. You see they're using lockout tagout on the right. On the left, they've got the warning for the panel for the clearance. We talked a little bit more about the verification of completion. Got some pictures here of some of the things they've done, and that's good. I always want to talk about the good things first. Good news or bad news. I'm going to talk about the good news first. And then I'm trying to use, balanced language. You got some issues, but we can work on these. You probably recognize these two photos from an earlier lecture, last module, when we started getting into identification of hazards. As you can see, I just got more and more stuff. So here was the three primary safety health issues: chemical storage and labeling, electrical and fire hazards, and ergonomic issues. So that's what I was going to talk about then. And I can't, again, I had to redact a little bit of information, but I'm giving evidence of focusing on these areas. You can see the plug there, the prongs are showing, and they're live, and so therefore that's exposed electrical. We had some issues with a humidifying system shorted out because the insulation busted out in a pool of water, and so that caused the system to overamp and short. It's kind of interesting that happened. You shouldn't this you should not have outlets set up like this unless you have a locking system to hold the plug in. Tripping hazards, we get an air line down below, get some strain relief issues. We talked a little about NFPA 70E because even though they had the sticker on the power center or the circuit breaker panel, they didn't have the NFPA 70E sticker on there, and so we talked about that. A majority of their issues, the recordable injuries, what I observed when I was watching the workers. And we're going to talk about overexertion and strain actually in the next module, but the things that I observed, this is what's going to cost them the money. And so I want to talk about that here. Like I'm going back to the work comp to show them that ergo is their number one concern when it comes to cost and frequency. I talked a little bit about coming up with performance measures, using performance measures for the safety program for continuous improvement. It made some recommendations. End on a high note. Let's celebrate. You guys are doing a good job. So that's just a quick insight that I'm building a safety program for them. Where does a safety program start? It starts with data analysis. It starts with reviewing what's currently there and looking for gaps and doing a physical evaluation. Now, if they'd asked me to come back, I may actually choose a few of the jobs in which I had noticed there were more potential for overexertion injuries or strain injuries, and I would do a job hazard analysis or an ergonomic analysis. You just keep, you're using, the data to focus on certain areas or support focusing on certain areas, and then you use a visual inspection to, get a quantity or severity of what's going on out there, and then you focus on and study that even more, and that's what generates more and more language, more and more support for certain elements of the safety program, and then you come up with training that goes with it. So that's just a quick summary of something I had done, and I hope it helps you understand, get more insight into the Lecture 14 materials.